Welcome, moon lovers. This is Imber, and today we take 8 minutes on the clock to discuss a very important key. Now, our topic this month is initiative, and we're about to unlock some magic within, as this key is all about your desired choices. This is Kat, my illustrious co-host. Good morning, Kat. How are you?
Good morning. Feeling fresh.
Feeling fresh and spunky?
Fresh. Maybe an understatement, but okay.
Well, with full moon time, this is when we shine a spotlight on whatever our intention is, whatever has our attention, right? So our intentions and attention. We're going to shine a spotlight on this, and your desired choices is where we're going to start. So, Kat, I've got a question for you. If there was only 1 year left on the planet for you, for us, for humankind, if you only had 1 year left, what would you do? How would you spend your last year on this planet?
Oh, that's such a great question because we all have an expiration date, right? We just don't know what that is. And so, really thinking about having some moment, some time to reflect through this as we work through this topic, knowing that like the main keys are that courage and self-empowerment, and really focusing in on creating my legacy. So legacy is my word of the year, which is something that we've touched on a little bit through our topics or our calls, our podcast. And I know we'll talk about it a little bit more later, but the one thing that I would do would be to write my book so that I actually could leave a legacy for my family, which is kind of interesting and very much how our vision journals in Luna's Vault Academy started, was wanting to write my book and seeing a way that I could do it that would be interesting and really something that would leave a legacy for me, for my children, a legacy of mine for my children, because I feel like I have kind of a basic story. Like I didn't have any like super trauma. I had lots of that little trauma that added up to be like a super trauma from childhood kind of thing. But really, when people have a story to tell, and by using our divine art alchemy, our vision journals to really create that storybook of our life has been very fulfilling. And yet, taking it to one step further and saying, is there something more that I could put out for the world to see that maybe would incorporate my divine art alchemy and my vision journal, be that beautiful, because for the listeners that may not know what I'm talking about, is each month we come together and actually create a vision book of our life during the new moon. And so each one is just so magical. And I'm sure, you want to chime in on that, on your divine art alchemy?
It is. So I have to say that, you'd been into vision journaling for some time, and I always hated it. I always thought it was just boring and a waste of time, and I don't like it, right? And, but, I didn't, my creativity wasn't a medium for my creativity, right? And doing this with you over the years, I don't know, at some point a light bulb went on, and I'm like, oh, wait a minute, this is kind of cool. And it doesn't have to be perfect, right?
No,
That was the key.
nothing. Exactly. Nothing's
Yeah, it doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to look better than someone else's. That's an Aries thing of competition. Right? It doesn't have to look a certain way. It could be anything I want. It could be like one photo that I find, or one piece out of a magazine that speaks to me, slap it on there, and hey, that is the first step, right? So as time went on, it's interesting how they got more creative, more colorful, more vibrant, and more in touch with really what my goals were. And yeah, so I have to thank you for doing that. Yeah.
I
Yeah. So
love it.
just kind of like for everyone out there listening, if you've never done that, like each month, it's like a different chapter for not only us personally as we go through life, but this is kind of like a visual of what we want that chapter to look like. And it's amazing to watch it actually come to fruition.
Yeah, you made a really great point there, because there have been months that I put, like, because we open it up to the book because it is an actual book. And once again, anybody can do whatever they want to. But for me, I've like taken and said, when I wanted to create expansion in my life, I would leave one side blank and really focus in on my vision that I had at that moment. But like the full moon time is a really great time to really look at my manifestation journal, the vision journal, and really it's just such a beautiful, easy way to pull it back. So going back to what would I do in that year is I would take time to write a book. I would hire somebody to help me, and I would explore. I would do videos with my family. I would, really be that present, but then actually leaving something for them to cherish, because I think most people want to know their loved ones more. I think there's not always a lot of time to explore in a neutral setting, what it means to be really make an impact or a legacy on the world or on your family, because you're always making an impact. But
Yeah.
what does that actually look like
Well,
long term?
here's another part of that question that comes to mind that I didn't think about when I formulated the question to you. But knowing you had a year, how much of that time, or and be logical about it, how much of that time would be spent in fear of like, I only have a year, right?
Yeah.
And how much would the family and those that you spend time with also focus on that fear part of it? Or yeah.
So that's a great question. And I think my old self, the unevolved self, would have been more in the fear part of it. With this, it's embracing, going back to that self-empowerment and saying, okay, I want to make my mark on the world. I've already made it, when I made my 3 little children, but I feel like that's my big mark on the world. But really to give them something to, once again, to get to know me better, to share my message out with the world in the grander scheme of just saying, we all have a story to tell. And it's important to have a place to tell it, and a way to tell it that's empowering. So there's our time. So all right. I know it goes by fast, doesn't it? So we've covered a lot in those 8 minutes. And so what was your key takeaway?
You know what? It has to be that last question I just asked, because, the question in the fields itself was like all the great things you're going to do and all your favorite things. And that was really kind of the focus, like what logical choices would you make that are really important to you? And that's the whole thing. Like, why not do it now? Why wait until you know there's only a year left on the planet? But I think my key takeaway was kind of the other part of how much fear would I allow into this to keep me from enjoying the present? Yeah. Yeah.
And
Where
yeah,
is that boundary? Where am I going to put that boundary? Yeah.
and no one ever knows until they're faced with that. So,
Yeah.
it's easy for us to say whatever we're going to say, but reality is, could be possibly different. So
Yeah.
my key takeaway is, and
And sorry, I didn't mean to. The gas, the gas or the fuel for those last days and desires isn't run by fear, I guess. Yeah.
yes, absolutely. So going back to, so my key takeaway there was just what you said about the logic part. It's like, who says it has to be logical? You got 1 year left, 365 days. I want to do something very illogical or very outside of the box every day is how I feel I would do it, because I've lived my life so much inside of a box, even though I never wanted there to be a box. It's like I never want but that's how society has put us. And so it's like, hey, if I have it, looking at it like 365 days of liberation, what does that look like? And like you said, yeah, don't live it in fear, but literally saying, what is it? And how can I maximize every day? So good point to do it now. Don't wait until
Yeah.
we're only guaranteed this moment. Don't wait. But I'd love to hear we would love to hear from all you moonbeams. If you want to share one of your key takeaways, if you have questions, your feedback, or your experience, if you know a loved one that's been through this, we'd love to hear it. Send us a direct message or an email, and we'll continue on this conversation next week when we actually explore the last quarter moon. So until then, we'll see you then.
Happy manifesting.
Happy manifesting.